Welcome back. I'm going to try something different today when I'm analyzing or evaluating my most recent Rapid game. Instead of just following through and see what Stockfish says, which is what I've been doing, I'm trying to get away from that a little bit and at least try to figure out on my own first where I went wrong before I check that with Stockfish. A lot of people have been saying I've needed to do that for some time. I'm going to start at the end and go backwards to the last point that I thought I had an advantage and see what I can figure out. Okay, here is the point in the game in which I resigned. That's because the opponent has just taken my queen and I don't have any compensation. I'm now down 8 points of material and it's looking bad for me. Also, I mean, this bishop is hanging. Not much I can do about that rook. Okay, so I knew it was bad here, which is why I resigned. So let's back up. Right before they took that, I knew they were going to take it because it was their turn. And the reason that I didn't do anything about that on the previous turn is because I was in check. And I had to move out of check. And as soon as I saw that I had to move out of check, I knew that they were going to get my queen. But I went ahead and did it anyway. And then they took my queen and I resigned. Okay. Before that, I didn't realize here. This is the move here. I did not realize that they had such a big advantage at this point. But clearly they do, because clearly they were about to check here by taking this pawn, and I'm going to have to move, and they're going to get my queen. So before that, at this point, I thought we were around even, or at least I might have a slight advantage. I'm actually up 2 pawns here. Total material. What had happened was I think I'm up in exchange, knight for a rook. But when they moved this bishop down here, I thought about this for a second, and I thought, you know what, I can get out of this. Because they've skewered my rook and my queen. But I don't know. I haven't turned on Stockfish yet, so I don't know if this right here, if I still had an advantage here, or if I didn't, if I did the wrong thing. But what I thought was if I move this rook over, because I mean, if I don't move one of them, they're going to get the rook. And if I move the queen, they're going to get the rook for the bishop. So I thought, what if I go here, and then that way when they take my queen, I'll get their queen. That was my plan. But it's possible that I had already lost the advantage at this point, that I had made a mistake on the previous move that allowed this. But maybe there's something else I could have done here. Maybe because I can't check. I mean, I technically can check right now. But I think that just loses a bishop and doesn't give me any momentum. Well, it gives me a bishop for a pawn, which would put us up equal on material. And then I guess, oh, and then I could move the queen over. And that way, if they took, then I would get their queen, so they wouldn't take. At least, I assume they wouldn't at that point. And then I could move the rook over after that when they did something else. Maybe that's what I should have done here. I mean, I could have just moved the queen. I could have just moved the, I don't know. I could have moved the king out of this coming check here, but then they would have gotten my rook and I would have gotten theirs, and they still could have taken the pawn, right? If on this turn, if I had moved my king to h1 so that it wouldn't be in check when this happened, they would take my rook and I would take, whoops. Yeah, so if I moved my king, I don't think they would take this pawn. I don't know, they might. But I think if I moved my king out of check to start here, I think they would then take my rook and I would take back. They would have a check down here, but I could easily block that here, protected by my bishop. And again, we would be even on material. They would have, because we've already gone up, and I had already gone up an exchange, a minor piece for a rook, and here they would be going back up the exchange, their minor piece for my rook. So that would have all equaled out, and our pawns would still be symmetrical. So maybe that's what I should have done. But I think backing up another little bit more, even here, this pawn is undefended, and my king is behind it. So maybe here I should have moved my king instead of, I don't know why I moved, you know what? I think I do know why I moved that bishop. Because right now it's defended by the rook, and I wanted to move the rook. I think that's why I did that. I put the bishop here so the pawn would defend it. But then where was I going to move my rook? I think I was going to move my rook right there, was my plan. Because it would challenge their queen if they left it there. It would, I think, lock this bishop in place, defending this pawn. Yeah, I think that was my plan at this point. That's why I moved the bishop back. But maybe I should have left it there and done something about this. Maybe that's where I went. Maybe that's where I lost the advantage. Because the queen has lined up with pawn and king there. Because I think here, I felt like I still had the advantage. This is still possible. But they could do that. I would take the knight. And then if they took the rook, I think I would have to take back at that point. Maybe I was down here. Because then my queen would be protecting my bishop, but still nothing would be protecting this pawn. So even after I took back here, they could take that pawn. Oh no, they wouldn't take the pawn then because my pawn would be here threatening their bishop. So I think at that point they would take my pawn this way, and then they would have two pieces attacking my d-pawn. So maybe I was down here. I don't know. Yeah, this whole point all the way up until there, and even after I moved my rook, because I didn't see that this pawn was undefended. So even up to here during the game, I thought I had a slight advantage. I thought if they took my queen, I'll take their queen. I'm going to be threatening this pawn because I didn't see this diagonal. But now that I see that diagonal, I'm thinking backing up that I might have been down. I might have been down ever since they moved the queen there. Which meant that I allowed them to move it here, so maybe even here I was down. Now I'm doubting the whole thing. Maybe I should have just taken here. Since I was up in exchange, I could have just exchanged this piece. When they took back, I could have moved forward, and then they would have had to brought the bishop back here. And then we could have worried about this pawn later. I don't know. I'm going to turn on the evaluation, not the Stockfish suggestion lines, so we get the bar over there. I found out recently that you don't actually have to go to the analysis page, like the game report page, and click on analysis. That just on their actual game page, there's an analysis button where you can choose to turn on evaluation and then choose to turn on lines. I think that's new because I don't think that was there before, which is why I was always going to the game review page and then switching to the analysis tab. But anyway, okay, it says I was up here, 2.8. And the move I made here, I was taking the bishop out, was let's turn on my lines. You can't see that, but I can. It does not say that's the best move. It's not one of my top 3. Okay, the move that maintains 2.8 is here. I think that's because they can do this now. I think that's what that is. They can, my queen and rook are on the same diagonal already. So it's saying my best move is rook to c8. But I still get 2.5 if I play h3. Wow. And 2.3, oh no, it's changed, sorry. 2.8 is down here, rook to c8. I misread this c1 and c8, sorry. Yeah, 2.8 is down there. But, okay. That would definitely break this up here. And that's 2.3, that's 2.8, but in between is h3, 2.5. But if I played that, couldn't they still have played bishop to a4? It says they wouldn't. It says they would play, that would be their best move. If I played h3, their best move would just be to drop that knight back here. I don't know about that. Okay. But instead I played the bishop out there. Okay, and I still have a slight advantage, although it's dropped. 1.63. They need to move their queen, right? And it suggests queen to a3 is their top move here. Queen to b4 is their next, and queen to a7 is their third best move. I'm not sure what queen to a3 would have done. Not sure. So my bishop's protected. That's not aiming at anything else from here. I mean, it just takes them to a safe spot away from where my bishop's attacking it. But what they played instead was down to a7, which gave me back the plus 2.5, 2.4. Oh, and e5 was my best move here, the move that I played. Okay. Even though they still have this, so this wasn't that big a deal there. And e5 was my best move. Okay. So I wasn't down here, and that was right. And they should have moved the knight back to g8. That's their best move. Knight to d7 is their second best move. Or taking here now is their third best move. So even though that existed at this point, it's not their best move. They could have done it, and it wouldn't have been that much worse than just getting the knight out of this. But let's see, if they had done that, and then I would have moved over, and then they would have needed to move the knight. But it says at that point they would play it here? Why would they do that? Wouldn't I just take it? It says I would, but then they would have this protected by their queen, which is over here now. But I'm still up, and even if they do that, I would still be up plus 2.9. Right now, their best move is to get the knight out, which they did. That's their best move, and that's what they played. And I have plus 2.6. If I will move my king, one of these two ways, I have 2.6. Rook to c5 would also be plus 2.2. That would block the queen from being able to see this pawn. Okay, I understand that. But I have a feeling that if I had done that, they would have, wouldn't they have put the bishop down there? Yes, it says they would have. But then I would have put my bishop here to block. And they would have taken my bishop, and I would have taken their bishop. Oh, and then I would have a passed pawn. Okay. So rook to c5 is my third best move. My first best moves would either one's 2.6, one's 2.55, so that both round to 2.6. Just moving my king out of that. Okay. Well, that's definitely what I failed to see here, was this diagonal through that pawn. And I played bishop to d6, which still leaves me with an advantage. Oh my goodness, I'm still up here. So I was wrong then when I worked backwards on my own, because once I saw that diagonal, I thought I had been losing for some time. But no, I'm still up even at this point. And their best move by far is to take this pawn now. It leaves me with about a +1 if they play that. And then when they did, it says my best move would be to block with my rook, not to move the king at that point. Interesting. Their second best move is bishop to h6. So number 1 would be taking this pawn. Number 2 is bishop to h6. And number 3 for them would be queen to a4. But the move they played, bishop to a4, was not among their top 3 moves. That was a blunder on their part. Okay. Well, I did not know that. When they did it, I thought it was probably their best move, and I thought I had found my best move here. But again, that's because I didn't see this pawn. Okay, so that was a blunder. Now I'm up plus 6.5. If I will, but I only have one move that maintains 6.5. My third best move, which leaves us even, is moving my king off of that diagonal. That's my third best move. My second best move is the one I thought about, is here. Bishop captures g6 check. That's my second best move, and that would leave me up plus 1.6. Because after they took back with the pawn, I would then move this queen over here, which would keep them from taking the rook. Would pin their bishop to their queen. Okay, and my first best move is doing that now. Oh my. If I had done that, I would have had plus 6. I was way off in all of this. This is why I guess been using Stockfish as a crutch, because I completely misevaluated this just now when I started at the end and worked my way backwards a few minutes ago. As I worked my way backwards, I thought, oh, I had probably been down for a while and just didn't realize it because of this. And the possibility of that. But no, that was a blunder. And all I had to do was move my queen here, pinning the bishop to their queen. Okay, and I'm up plus 7, Stockfish says now. And what are they going to do? Their best move is just to inch their queen up here. Their next best move is to play their bishop out there, and their next best move is to advance their h-pawn. But either way, I'm up plus 7. Okay, so as late as there, I could have won. But because I moved the rook instead, not seeing that diagonal, it turned from plus 7 to minus 11. Okay. Yeah, so I was wrong. That wasn't the blunder that lost me the game. I mean, that was the blunder that lost me the game, not something earlier. I thought maybe a series of inaccuracies had led me to losing because of this possibility and this possibility. But no, it was right here. All I had to do was move my queen out of that, out of the pin, and create a new pin of my own. Okay. Okay, well, that's what we learned today, is I'm really bad at evaluating who's ahead and who's behind. And at the crucial moment, when my opponent has just blundered, I was way off. One move was not good, one move is good. Okay. Well, hopefully you learned something from this as well. If not, I still thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.